I cannot believe my life has gotten to this point. I'm so overwhelmed with emotions right now, and the only way to let it out is write down what happened. I'm a 55-year-old man engaged to a 52-year-old woman for 1 year. My fiancé is a famous model, and I'm a businessman and own a chain of luxury resorts. Around a year ago, I got engaged to my girlfriend. We were about to get married in the next 6 months. But I recently came to know that I've been lied to. All my plans crumbled. I met my fiancé 2 years ago when she was hired by my company to do a photo shoot for our resorts. She was invited to one of the hotel events. I immediately got drawn to her beauty. That's kinda obvious considering she worked as a model for a living. I was seeing someone else at that moment. My then girlfriend was the same age as me. She did not come with me that day to that event. Even though I found my fiancé really attractive, I kept my distance as I was in a relationship. She came and introduced herself to me. We were having wine and her drink spilled on my jacket. She apologized continuously and then came closer to clean it up. She smiled at me all night long. I went home to my girlfriend without giving it much thought. That time, I had been seeing her for more than 2 years and thought we were going to get engaged because I wanted to start a family soon. A lot of my life had already been spent working, and I wasn't getting any younger. A few days later, while we were discussing our friends getting engaged, she told me that she cannot imagine herself getting married. "What do you mean you don't want to get married?" I asked her. She told me that she loves being in a relationship with me, but marriage wasn't on cards for her. I was visibly shocked by her revelation. We have been dating for 2 years. We never discussed marriage specifically, but I thought that's because she wants us to know each other well before committing our life together. We soon ended our relationship as I didn't want to walk on a road which went nowhere. I started seeing my fiancé a lot more as my company had a lot of campaigns starring her. We started running to each other very frequently. She invited me for dinner as an apology for spilling drinks on me. "Don't invite me just because you're apologetic," I told her. We flirted for a bit and then I asked her out on a date.
Hey everyone. Unfortunately, basically everyone who is watching these videos isn't subscribed. It would mean the world to me to quickly get out of the full screen video for 3 seconds and press that subscribe button. It's free and you can unsubscribe anytime. Sorry for bothering and thank you so much if you subscribed.
We enjoyed each other's company and kept on going on dates whenever I was free from work. While we were out on dinner, I told her that even though I enjoyed her company, I didn't want to immediately get into another relationship. I had just come out of one and my work was my priority. "I understand, honey," she told me. I was happy to just date her without any pressure. I did want to get married, but not without love. I was a workaholic, or that's what people told me, but I still believed in love. As time passed, I thought I was finally ready for a relationship and we got together. She moved in my house and we were happy together, or so I thought. Since she was a model, she used to stay in contact with many guys from her industry. Male models, photographers, producers, but I never paid much attention to it because I trusted her and it was related to her job. I was quite preoccupied by my work as well. One evening, we went for dinner. She was in a really gorgeous dress. She seemed extra perky that evening. She shocked me when she told me that she wanted to get married to me. "I feel we are ready," she said with a soft smile on her face. I didn't expect it, but I sort of agreed with her. I got her an engagement ring the next day and we were engaged. I had a good run of luck going. Both my professional and personal life were thriving. I was content after a long time in my life. I came home with my fiancé's favorite flowers, only it wasn't her who opened the door of our home. A young guy who looked like he was in his teens opened the door and looked at me like he didn't know that it was my house he was standing at. "Who are you?" I asked him. He told me that he's my girlfriend's assistant. It felt a bit weird to me because I have never seen this dude around. I asked my girlfriend later how she met this guy. She told me that some agency hired him for her as her previous assistant had resigned. He was 20 years old. I didn't pay much attention to it after that. He used to hang around our home a lot more than I liked, but it was all right. It was a Friday afternoon and I was swamped with work. My fiancé called and asked if we were still going for dinner that evening. I told her I won't be able to get out of the office. She said it's fine and that we can reschedule. I would have done just that, except I felt that I shouldn't be prioritizing my work anymore and give attention to my future wife. I left early for home that day. I thought it's best if I just surprise her with dinner at her favorite restaurant. I used my passcode to let myself in. She wasn't in the living room, so I made my way to the bedroom. Before I could open the door, I heard voices. It was of a male and my fiancé. It was clear they were in bed together. I hid behind the curtains before they opened the door. I saw them coming out of my bedroom. They were laughing together as my blood boiled. She was barely wearing clothes. The furniture was blocking the way, so I couldn't see the guy. I could just see his wrist. I knew that I've seen that watch before, I just couldn't place it. I didn't want to confront her yet. I wanted to know what else was going behind my back while I was blissfully unaware. I left the apartment after she went to her shower. I went straight to my office and started thinking. She was cheating on me with another man. I needed to find out who this man was. After that, I would have decided what to do with her. I was going to make sure that she paid for her betrayal. She had no right to give me hope for the future and then go behind my back like that. I came home later that evening. This time, she was waiting for me. She told me that she missed me. She kissed me and gave me the same smile, which made me feel like I won the world. I let her kiss me as my heart was consumed by a mix of anger and heartache. Everything went normal. We had dinner and then went to sleep. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking what was going behind this gorgeous double face of hers. If she wanted someone else, why did she tell me that she wants to get married to me? I decided I am going to figure it all out. Next morning in my office, I talked to my security head to install a CCTV camera at my apartment. I even asked him to install one in my bedroom. I wasn't going to let her go without knowing everything. I instructed them to install it quickly when she wasn't at home. The cameras got installed when she was out shooting some campaigns. Now I just had to wait and see what happens. I watched her coming back home from work, her assistant trailing her. They were talking about something, I guessed work-related. Then he left after dropping her off. I kept waiting, but nothing happened. No guy entered the premises. My fiancé also seemed pretty normal. I was confused, but decided it's better to keep an eye on her. I kept our relationship just the way it used to be. I kept paying her hefty credit card bills. I didn't want her to know that I knew about her secret till I figured out who the guy was. Days passed by, but nothing happened. I started getting more frustrated. I felt as if I had hallucinated her with someone else. I was almost convinced that it was just my hallucination. We were having breakfast when her assistant joined us. I asked him to pass me the juice when my eyes fell on his wrist. It was the same watch I saw that day. This couldn't be a mere coincidence, I thought to myself. I also noticed that it was a pretty expensive watch. I didn't know how he was affording it on the income of a personal assistant. My head was full of thoughts, emotions, and questions, and I didn't have an answer to any of those. If my fiancé was cheating on me with her assistant, why didn't they do anything after that day? They looked so platonic on camera that I couldn't even have guessed it. I finally found the missing piece, but it still felt like that I'm missing a lot of things. I needed to figure everything out before removing her from my life. I wasn't a person who made rash decisions. I needed to think about everything properly. I decided that I need to find more about her assistant. I never paid enough attention as to what they were doing. All I knew was that he was 20 years old and hired by her modeling agency. I contacted her modeling agency, and that call left me stunned and even more confused than I was before. Her modeling agency didn't hire him. They didn't even know who he was. She lied to me. It shouldn't have surprised me, but it did. I started finding out more about him, and everything that I came to know kept surprising me continuously. His apartment was leased in the name of my fiancé. She got the apartment the same time this guy came to work for her. She also paid his credit card bills. It wasn't making sense at all. Why was she giving money to this guy? I had enough of this nonsense and I needed to know the truth. I called her up and told her that I need to discuss something with her while her assistant is present. She seemed hesitant but agreed. I met them at home. Both of them were quite anxious as to what I had to say. I asked him if he liked working for her. He seemed shocked by my question but then nodded his head. I then asked him if he liked our home. He nodded again. I asked him another question about food and got the same reply. I then asked him, "Did you like sleeping with my fiancé on my bed?" He was about to nod but then realized what the question was. Both of them turned red and looked at each other while also looking at me. "What are you talking about?" my fiancé asked, her voice lacking the confidence it always has. "I'm talking about the very same thing you did behind my back." I told them quietly. It was confirmed now that she was cheating on me. It was best to know the entire truth at once than getting hurt again after some time. "Explain something to me, honey. Why is my fiancé getting a house on lease for a guy she claims to not know?" I said quietly, but even I could hear the anger in my voice. "How did you know?" she asked, surprised by the information I just presented to her. I told them to not waste time and to keep speaking. Turns out that I've been living a complete lie. Our entire relationship was nothing more than a scam. As she told me the truth, maybe for the first time since I knew her, I felt my chest hurting all over again. She was in an arrangement with this guy where she would take care of all his expenses. This arrangement began before she started dating me. They had a physical relationship. She would take care of his expenses and he would be with her when she wanted. She only came into my life to use me for my money. Everything in our relationship was planned by her. She only spilled that wine on me to come closer to me the first time we met. She knew I was in a relationship, but she still wanted to be with me. Everything after that, which I thought was sweet and genuine, was carefully strategized by her. She was never in love with me. She just needed me because she knew her modeling career won't last forever and needed someone reliable to lean on. I was that person for her. I listened to her as she told me how she proposed to me because she was afraid I would break up with her just like I broke up with my last girlfriend, and that would have ruined her plan. Also, being my wife would have given her unlimited access to my money. I couldn't believe her at once, but I knew she was telling the truth. She told me she didn't do anything with him at our home after that day because she had a suspicion that I had installed cameras when she came back from shoot. She just couldn't find them. She knew she couldn't look for them as well because then it would become obvious to me. They decided to act professional in my home even in my absence just to fool me. Her admission was so shocking that I needed to hold myself so I wouldn't fall to the floor. I gave her everything I have and this is how she chose to repay me. I told her to get out of my house before I kicked them out. All my life I worked hard to build myself and my family a good life. But I never thought it would repay me like that. I got played, and why? Because of my wealth. No, I wasn't taking blame for her actions. It wasn't my fault that my fiancé was such a bad person who likes to play with the feelings of others. I was going to make her pay for what she did to me. I hired a private investigator and told him to bring me every information about her and that guy. He started working on it immediately. When I thought nothing could surprise me anymore, it did. I wasn't the only guy she played with for money. She had used various men who were successful in their field to take care of her while she continued her arrangement. I would have forgiven her if she lied to me or if she was apologetic as to what she had done. But I wasn't going to forgive her for playing me from the start of our relationship. She was using me as a pawn in her elaborate game and I refused to let it go. She had to face the consequences of her actions. I was going to make sure that she faced every bit of it. I wanted to see her suffer the same way she made me suffer, or maybe even worse. She had given me so many surprises recently that I thought she was worth one herself. I worked on that surprise, day and night. I didn't want to leave anything out. I wanted it to be perfect from all angles. I called my connections to know about her latest show. She was going to model in it as the showstopper. She loved being the center of attention, and my surprise would make her center of attention all her life. Everywhere she'll go, people will recognize her. The day of the show couldn't have come any longer. I was waiting for this day for so many days. I never heard from my fiancé after she left my apartment with that guy. But I was going to meet her at her show. She told me that she hated that I didn't attend her shows, and here I was. The show began and everything went normally. The runway had a screen with a projector behind it. It zoomed in on the models as they walked the runway. I sat there patiently as my ex-fiancé made her way to the runway. Instead of zooming in on her, the screen showed evidence of her cheating on me with a 20-year-old guy. The crowd gasped, but I knew there was more to come. The screen continued showing pictures of her with different men and how she lived on their money and kept on cheating them. Her face went pale as she stood on the runway frozen, not knowing what to do. The surprise was worth it after all. I wanted her to feel the hurt that she had caused me. Everyone in the audience started talking among themselves. People questioned her character and integrity. The news reporters were busy taking pictures, making sure they didn't leave anything for their newspaper's deadline. The staff escorted her out of the runway as she stood there without moving. I knew that she didn't see this coming. My work was done here, I thought to myself, and left.